It's interesting when you think about the things that make people start smoking, especially young people.
There's a lot more to it than you might think.
We're going to look at some really interesting research today.
Yeah, get ready to have your mind blown. Seriously, it might change the way you think about this whole smoking thing.
So let's jump right in. First up, peer pressure. We've all been teenagers. But did you know that just having friends who smoke actually increases a teen's chances of starting to smoke themselves?
Yeah, that makes sense when you think about, like, social learning theory.
Social learning theory,
Yeah, we kind of naturally copy the people we admire.
or want to be like.
Exactly. And for teenagers, that need to belong is, like, super strong.
Yeah, so it's like if smoking cigarettes seems like the way to get accepted, all those health risks might not seem like such a big deal.
Exactly. And there is this study in 2022 in the Journal of Youth and Adolescence.
Okay.
They found that peer pressure is the reason behind a crazy 50% of teenagers who start smoking.
Wow. 50%.
50%.
That's huge.
Yeah, and it can be direct pressure, like friends actually pushing you to try a cigarette.
Oh, yeah.
Or it could even be indirect, like just seeing everyone around you smoking and thinking it's normal.
That makes sense, because if everyone's doing it, it doesn't seem so bad.
Right. And research shows that the more friends you have who smoke, the more likely you are to start too.
Wow, it's like this unspoken rule or something.
Yeah, like an expectation.
Okay, so peers are a huge influence.
Mhm.
What about family? I bet that plays a big role, too.
Huge. This is where it gets even more interesting.
Okay.
If you grow up around smokers, your chances of becoming a smoker skyrocket.
That makes sense. We learn by watching.
Exactly, like kids copying their parents. And that goes for smoking too. It's called modeling. And the stats are there to prove it. The National Institute on Drug Abuse found that teens with at least one parent who smokes are 70% more likely to pick up the habit by age 18.
70%.
70%.
That's massive.
Yeah.
It really shows how much our families shape our choices. And I guess it's not just about seeing them smoke,
No.
is it?
It's the whole vibe. What your parents think about smoking matters a lot too. Like
Yeah.
if they're super chill about it or if they're really strict.
So their attitude towards smoking sends a message to their kids.
Yeah.
Okay.
A parent who's always complaining about needing a cigarette or talking about how much they love smoking,
Yeah.
they're going to influence their kid differently than a parent who's trying to quit.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's those unspoken messages that sometimes speak the loudest. So we've covered friends,
Right.
we've covered family, but there's this even bigger force out there,
Yeah.
culture. How does that fit into the picture?
Well, culture shapes how we see pretty much everything, including smoking.
Okay.
And in some cultures, smoking is tied to traditions,
Okay.
social identity, even gender roles.
Like you still see it in movies and TV shows. Like smoking makes you glamorous or rebellious.
Exactly. And that can have a huge impact, especially on young people who are still figuring out who they are. The World Health Organization found that in places where smoking is more accepted, more people smoke.
That makes you think, doesn't it?
It does. About how much all the stuff we see every day affects us.
Yeah.
It really does. Yeah, it makes you really think about all that stuff we see and hear all the time. But you know the good news is,
What's that?
knowing this stuff, we can actually start to change things.
Okay.
So that brings us to what we can actually do.
Yeah. Let's talk solutions.
Okay, so we've seen how our friends, family, and even culture can make smoking seem kind of cool.
Yeah.
But what can we do to help people resist?
Yeah. Especially young people. It can feel like a losing battle sometimes. Like, where do we even begin?
Well, there are things that actually work.
Oh,
They're proven,
okay, good.
and they address each of those things we've talked about: peers,
Right.
family,
Yeah.
and culture.
Okay, let's break it down. Starting with peer pressure.
Mhm.
How do we help young people say no to that?
Well, one thing is to help them feel strong and confident
Okay,
so they can believe in themselves and know they can say no.
even when it's hard.
Right, even when it's hard. Remember those Just Say No campaigns?
Oh, yeah. Do those even work?
They're a good start. There are also programs that teach kids how to make good decisions,
Okay.
how to be assertive, and how to feel good about themselves.
It's like giving them tools to deal with those situations.
Exactly. But what about when smoking is just everywhere in their friend group?
Yeah, it's like, how do you even find friends who don't smoke?
That's tough. That's where it's super important to help them find other friends.
Positive influences?
Yeah. Who don't smoke. Get them involved in sports, arts, music,
Right.
community service, anything that brings them together with other kids in a healthy environment.
It's like creating spaces where smoking is just not a thing.
Exactly. And schools can be a big part of that.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
They can have clubs and activities where smoking isn't allowed.
Yeah.
Okay, now let's talk about family influences.
Okay.
We talked about how much parents' smoking habits and attitudes can affect their kids. How do we tackle that?
That feels tough.
Yeah.
Like, how do you change something that's so ingrained in a family?
Well, it all starts with teaching parents about how much they influence their kids
Okay.
and how important it is to set a good example.
Lead by example.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
not enough to just tell kids that smoking is bad. You have to actually not smoke.
Right. Actions speak louder than words.
100%. And it's not just actions, it's the words, too. Parents who talk openly with their kids about the dangers of smoking
Yeah.
and who make it clear that smoking is not okay.
Yeah.
Those kids are less likely to smoke.
It's about sending a consistent message.
Yes. Okay, so we've talked about peers and family, but what about culture? The bigger picture.
Right. It's a big one. How do we change cultural norms and ideas that make smoking seem cool?
That's a big challenge. We can start with community campaigns,
Okay.
public health initiatives that really challenge those norms and change the story around smoking.
That makes sense. Do you have an example of a campaign that actually worked?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The CDC had this amazing campaign called Tips from Former Smokers.
I think I've heard of that.
They had real people talk about how smoking messed up their lives, and it really got to people. It made them think, and it actually led to fewer people smoking.
It's like showing the real cost of smoking, not just some vague health risks.
Right. Okay, now what about policies and stuff?
Okay. Yeah, like laws.
Yeah, things like smoke-free zones in schools, parks, and restaurants can really help. It makes smoking seem less normal,
Yeah.
and it protects people from secondhand smoke.
Right.
It sends the message that smoking is not welcome in those places.
Okay, that makes sense. It's about making the healthy choices easier.
Yes. What about the media?
Oh, yeah. There's still so much smoking in movies and on TV.
Right, and that's a problem. We need to limit how much young people see smoking on screens. Stricter rules about how smoking is shown in movies and TV shows, online too.
Okay, yeah.
Like, we could have policies that rate movies with smoking as R, so younger kids can't see them.
That seems like it would be controversial, though.
Maybe. We need to use everything we can to fight back against all those pro-smoking messages that are still out there.
Yeah, it's like a constant battle.
Yeah.
So we've talked about a lot today.
Mm-hmm.
What are the key takeaways for our listeners?
Okay, first, be aware. Know that all this stuff, social pressure, family, culture, it all affects whether people smoke, especially young people. We can't ignore it. Second, get involved. Support groups that are working to reduce smoking.
Right.
Talk to your elected officials. Share accurate information with your family and friends.
Yeah. Knowledge is power. The more we understand these things, the more we can make a difference.
Exactly. And remember, we can change things. We've already seen a drop in smoking rates over the years,
Yeah.
but we can't stop there.
Right. We got to keep pushing.
We have to keep working to create healthy environments
Yeah.
and give people the power to make healthy choices.
That's what it's all about. This has been a really eye-opening look at how all these forces work together. Social forces, family, culture, they all shape smoking behavior. But there's one more piece to the puzzle that we need to talk about.
Oh, yeah.
The power of hypnosis as a tool for quitting smoking. Yeah, it feels like we've been talking about all these big external factors,
Right.
but when it comes down to it, quitting smoking is a personal thing.
It is. And that's
Yeah.
where hypnosis comes in. It's been getting a lot of buzz as a really powerful way to quit smoking.
For good.
For good. And it's safe, it's natural, and it focuses on how you think and act, not just the physical part of the addiction.
Okay. But I got to admit, the whole hypnosis thing seems a little mysterious.
I know, right?
Like, how does it actually help people stop smoking?
Well, it's not as mysterious as you might think. There's actually tons of research that shows hypnosis can help people quit smoking. There was this big study. They looked at over 600 studies, and it was published in the Journal of Applied Psychology. And guess what? They found that hypnosis was even more effective than other methods.
So it's not just some mystical
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
There's real science behind it. That's pretty amazing. So what's it like to actually see a hypnotherapist to quit smoking?
Well, each session is personalized, but usually the hypnotherapist starts by getting to know you,
Okay.
your smoking history,
Okay.
why you want to quit, any problems you've had quitting before,
Uh-huh.
and then they'll guide you into that super relaxed state we talked about.
Yeah, that deep relaxation.
Right. And that's when they can start to plant those positive suggestions.
Like suggestions that make you feel calm and in control around cigarettes.
Yes. They might also use visualization.
Like what kind of visualizations?
Oh, like picturing yourself in the future.
Okay.
Healthy, smoke-free, or they might even link smoking with something negative.
I see.
The point is, your subconscious mind is way more open to those suggestions when you're relaxed.
Yeah, that makes sense. And the more sessions you have, the stronger those new beliefs get.
Exactly.
So if someone's thinking about trying this, how do they find a good hypnotherapist?
That's a great question. You want to find someone who's qualified? Look for a certified practitioner.
Hmm.
There are organizations like the National Board for Certified Clinical Hypnotherapists.
Okay.
They can help you find someone in your area who specializes in helping people quit smoking, and make sure it's someone you feel good about. Trust and connection are super important.
Totally. You have to feel safe and supported with that therapist. And speaking of support, we have an amazing resource for you guys. You might already know her. Gozalia Davis is a rock star hypnotherapist.
Oh, she's amazing.
She specializes in helping people quit smoking, and she has a phenomenal track record.
She does.
She's helped so many people quit smoking. It's inspiring.
It really is.
So if you're ready to ditch those cigarettes and take charge of your health, check out Gozalia's website. It's stopsmokinghypnosis.org. You can find all the details about her program there.
Yeah, don't wait. Quitting smoking is one of the best things you can do for yourself.
Seriously.
It's like an investment in your health.
And your happiness.
And with the right support and tools,
Like hypnosis.
yeah, like hypnosis, you can totally achieve those smoke-free goals.
We believe in you.